Hey guys, I'm Chris. Welcome back to Free Range Phoenix, a blog about narcissistic and codependency recovery. In this video, I'm going to continue with the story of my last big narcissistic relationship, the one that spurred all of this self-improvement and recovery and activity. So let's get into it. So where I left off last time, we had a trip to Amsterdam and the hurt that I got from her disappearing at the end, and then the way she handled that. So looking at my journal, the next entry is from August, and I say that things have been very difficult. Now, I note that looking back and thinking about the last video that I did, looking back, I can see that I was blaming myself for an awful lot of stuff that happened, which I now realize is not my fault. So this begins with things like I've failed to stop dwelling on hurtful things that she's said. Now, that is a textbook codependent, like self-blaming state of mind. I was not responsible for her hurtful remarks. I was not responsible for what, I mean, even at the time, we had a word for it. I would say hammers and daggers. I would say, I don't mind you getting angry, but you have to stop the hammers and daggers. And of course, she did not. So I do note some stuff that's good awareness. I say that I think feeling abandoned as a child by my parents and my grandparents has had serious consequences for my emotional health. That is true. That is true. And it was having an effect, obviously. Her abandoning behavior obviously triggered those issues. So it did have an effect. I say that as my feelings for my ex grew, so was my fear of losing her. Natural, and it would have an effect in even a relationship with a healthy person, or a more healthy person, because I have seen myself become anxious and more codependent and more fawning when dealing with healthier partners than she was. So there's a lot of affirmations of a sort in these entries. Like I say, I'm not going to push her away with my insecurity. I'm going to work to fill the holes that were made long ago. I'm a brilliant, complete person, and I deserve to be happy. I deserve to be loved. I'll embrace the love and affection that she shows me and hold on to it. I think those affirmations are good. I think affirmations are useful, but it's in a situation where you've got a problematic person who's causing you hurt and causing you to feel anxious, sometimes maybe deliberately, that level of there's not going to be any strength to affirmations like that. You're not going to be able to improve just through wishful thinking. You need to be able to get out of a toxic situation and do real work in order to avoid these kinds of things. I said that she's not used to lots of emotions in a relationship. That's something she said. She doesn't like feeling overwhelmed by my emotions. Well, that is, that shows awareness on her part of something that I now understand is a avoidant, if not narcissistic trait. She's not comfortable with feelings. There are many of the luminaries in the narcissistic recovery community online say the same thing, that emotion is weakness to a narcissist. They hold emotional behavior in contempt in their partners. I've said that I appreciate effort she's making. As I said before, this was a long distance relationship, transatlantic. In fact, she did make the effort to come to Scotland, where I currently am, where I have been since just before I met her. And those are decent efforts. I was going there a lot more, but there was effort on her part. A lot of the good stuff that I've listed here to try and calm myself down, I now see as probably not sincere. She's told me at times that she only apologized for things just to shut me up. She's told me, things about being aware of the effect she has on me. There's a lot of manipulation, a lot of, insincerity in things that she said. So in this stage where there was still some idealization happening on her part, I don't know how much I can trust things like that anymore. So we get into September of 2016, and I could see her making effort. We were arguing frequently, but the thing is, most of the arguments at the time, I thought, oh, this is me being problematic. It's my insecurity. I was telling myself the things that she was telling me because I didn't want to lose her. I wanted to believe I could control the things that were causing problems. But the truth is that I wasn't responsible for her being hurtful. I heard all these things, and I'm sure many of you have heard. Some comment would be made, some joke, and I would be told when I reacted, "You're so sensitive, you're not masculine." In a more sadistic moment, she'd even say things to me like, "This isn't going to work, I just need somebody who's really macho, somebody who's a more masculine, a real man." These kinds of things that when you're already heavily invested they're meant to cut you down, they're meant to hurt you, because no person with any empathy is going to say stuff like that no matter how angry they get. So we head into September, and I'm out of 2016, and I was seeing from her a lot of behavior to try and make me feel better. And I was still making tons of effort. At this point, I was aware of her sort of pulling away, and we were on the phone less. She was, we're still having all these horrible arguments, but I was getting more anxious because I was aware of her pulling away. Despite her still saying all the good things. And then we got into the end of September. I went to see her. I've said here in the journal, I've gone back to Philadelphia to see her after some things she said. I felt like I wanted to sort things out before she came to Glasgow. I tried talking to her, and she went through a cycle of avoiding any depth, then conflict, but I did get to speak some emotion. I did get her to speak some emotions and promise me they're true. Now that's codependency. That's me trying to get her to validate me, to say to me that she cared about me, and she wanted things to be okay, which she did say, but again, I've got no confidence that there's any sincerity there anymore. She said that she's going to try and work on her shit, but she didn't want to give me an excuse to be impatient by saying she'll do it. I said, so back in those early days, that because I said she has some awareness, but it's included with a kind of lack of empathy. So she'd have some awareness of her bad behavior, but she'd just kind of embrace it. She'd talk about being, this is what you get. You piss me off, you get angry black woman. She would say, when she's being cruel, she would say, this is what you signed up for. This is why you wanted to be here, you wanted to be with me, this is what you signed up for. So she knew she was acting out. She knew she had that level of awareness that takes it up towards the sociopathic end of narcissism. She did at one point go to see a church counselor, and she came out of that saying that and this is textbook narcissism, telling me that it was all my fault, telling me that the counselor had told her that I was toxic and to not take my issues into her life, the counselor thought that I had a lot of issues and she should leave me alone. Well, of course, some pastoral church counselor, of course, she's going to say, hey, this guy's not even a Christian, what are you doing? So anyway, there was no way she never did any kind of work on these issues, even though she was aware of it. Like they often are, she's kind of proud of her cruelty, she would say, when I'm mad, I will just switch off, I can just switch off and I don't care about you. She would say during an argument when she has me crying, she would say, I'm just switched off to you right now. You mean nothing. You mean nothing. And that was true. And that is how, that's the really messed up thing about this, is that she had the awareness of her behavior where she could say that, but she just had absolutely no impulse to control herself and act like a normal, rational, caring person, let alone a caring partner. So I'm gonna leave it there for this one because I'm conscious that time is getting on. So I'll continue with the narrative of this relationship in another video. Thanks once again for your time and your attention. I hope this is validating for you. If you like the content, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Please do. And I hope to speak to you again soon.